And we're live. You're seeing my closet behind me. Working from home today. So yeah, just down here in my office, and this is going to be live on YouTube. You'll see that I actually have a little drone right there. So nothing weird. Welcome to the Friday live. I'm doing this every other Friday right now just because of the schedule that I'm kind of contending with right now. It's been a little bit hectic lately. I actually just got in at 1:30 in the morning last night from flying back from a client meeting. So yeah, it's been a little bit crazy, but definitely want to make sure that I can hop in here and share any knowledge or anything that we're seeing instead of Google Ads, and yeah, see if I can solve some problems and help some people. That's what I'm here for. So I know we just started in terms of some updates. So Performance Max is, man, it is growing fast. I mean, things are updating weekly, just essentially inside of the Google Ads ecosystem. And so we first didn't really have an Insights tab that was filled out, and now Insights tab is showing the audiences. It's showing how many conversions per audience category. Then now it's showing how much conversions, conversion value, conversion rate, click-through rate, impression clicks by category. And then we all of a sudden got search themes. And now search themes has been changed over to search categories. And then inside of search categories, now I have an expansion about what sort of phrase match keywords are being used most often with people interact with the company, or the business or brand or online, whatever it may be. It is turning into an immense project. And what I found is that there is less and less golden rules. And that's a scary thought, because usually it's like, okay, what's the best way to do something? So as this progresses, my second video on Performance Max should be live any day now. If it's not already live, I haven't checked yet. But the new Performance Max structure that I'm going to be defining is based on what we have seen as best practice so far. So while there's very little golden rules, there's some advanced techniques you can start with right off the bat. As an example, using different asset groups by persona. So how to identify your avatar, influence who your avatar is, overlay some additional audience signals, and then separate that out by ad copy. You can't necessarily do like large remarketing efforts inside of Performance Max. Like, it's really hard to essentially hop in and say, okay, here's an audience that I'm going to attack on all the networks. The signals are suggestions. They're polite. They're like, hey, I think you can find here. And Google's like, yeah, it's okay. Thank you. I'll take that in consideration and do whatever I want. So the control aspect's hard, but where you can double down on really good advanced strategies. Hey, Dan, what's going on? Where you can double down on some really important strategies is having a very refined, diverse model. I think diversity is going to be key. Now, a big update. Google has said, I actually got two different answers from Google, but one team that I got an answer from is a team that said, hey, I went right to the person actually working on Performance Max, and this is what they said. What they said was that it is not going to cross-pollinate. So it's a flip back. So originally, Google didn't cross-pollinate between Smart Shopping Network. A click on this campaign and a view of this campaign's products, this campaign didn't remarket. Then they started cross-pollinating. Then a click on this Smart Shopping campaign, then a view of this Smart Shopping campaign's product, and a leave. This campaign kicked in and started remarketing. Now in Performance Max, it's gone back to whatever original Performance Max campaign got the click. That campaign is going to do the remarketing. So, okay, now it's a flip back. So now it means that if I segment out by category, I'm safe. But if I have too much hyper segmentation, it's like, well, if they click on that ad, but they might be interested in that product, those two need to be in the same Performance Max campaigns. Otherwise, they can't remarket what product they were eventually interested in. Mohammed, hey, man. Hey, John, would Performance Max be useful for large catalog stores? Yes. It's probably going to be even more useful. So Smart Shopping, as Smart Shopping progressed, and it's not changes or updates, but where we were able to identify the commonalities of every Smart Shopping campaign, even looking through third-party attribution tools like Northbeam and finding out, oh man, this is where Smart Shopping is actually showing up more often. There's started to become a big, not like, but like a big, oh man, like that's bad. Smart Shopping was doing really good at capturing the repeats and always being like the 4th, 7th, or 12th, or 18th click in the customer path. So we all knew that it was remarketing all channels, but what we didn't know is that it was 80% remarketing all channels, 20% prospecting. However, that's if you're running Google by itself, it's doing all the work. If you're running high levels of other traffic, it's simply just going to be really good at scooping up all that traffic that isn't converting it and converting it. So yeah, and so Performance Max flips that. It's been 80% new customer acquisition, 20% marketing. We actually find that now starting additional remarketing campaigns such as YouTube video remarketing, is now much more important. So it's a complete flip back to kind of traditional, but with a really good top of funnel, a really good middle funnel, even bottom of the funnel campaign structure, segmented out by asset group, but leaving all listing groups in one as much as possible for like non-cross-pollination can be really important. Dan, do you know the best way to track the full funnel of a sale? Let's say you're doing Facebook ads and TikTok ads. How can you see exactly the person that's okay? You need Northbeam. It's northbeam.io. Northbeam is amazing. In full transparency, I'm part owner. Now I'm like little teeny tiny percent part owner because it's a bigger company. I'd just be given an investor because I really believed in it. So if you buy it, I'm not gonna be like, woo, I made a whole bunch of money. We don't even take like any money from Northbeam right now at all. It's still growing, but full transparency. I never want to have anything be found out later on like, oh, he's an investor and he's recommending this. Yeah, it makes sense. But we're actually going to be interviewing Dan from Northbeam, or Austin from Northbeam, whoever wants to do the video. But what we're going to be doing, Northbeam can tell you the entire path. So first thing they saw a Facebook ad, then they saw an Instagram ad, then they clicked on a Facebook ad, and then they actually clicked from an email, and then they Googled you organically, and then they came back directly, and then they came back from an influencer, and then they came back from an email, then they clicked direct on, and then they went to your website back organically, and then converted. There is paths in there, sometimes, no joke, 40 or 50 paths long, and I can see exactly what happens. And then it sorts it by the top conversion paths. So what happens most often? Usually you get a prospecting click on Facebook, then Smart Shopping picks up and converts it. Or we get like a whole bunch of TikToks and then a very little conversion right from the one TikTok click, but everything else is actually working really, really well. So that's Northbeam it's telling you the full funnel. That's what I'm using to analyze how Smart Shopping versus Performance Max are working. Smart Shopping, always a fifth, sixth, seventh click, very rarely the first click. Performance Max, more often the first click, very rarely the second or third or fifth click. I've seen Performance Max remark his own Performance Max. It's the only time I've seen that really actually show up number two. So really interesting stuff there. When you utilize TCPA bidding, do you base the AOV on the backend AOV or the Google Ads AOV, which reverse engineering the CPU need? And what period do you usually look at? So that's actually, Christian, it's a good, do you pin assets on RSAs? All right, so first question, it depends on the client. Usually what I try to find is an average order value of the first purchase, but also take into consideration the LTV out to day 90. I like day 90 because I don't want to spend next year's revenue. I mean, like, hey, we're going to be not profitable for a year, but next year is our year. I usually like to spend about 3 months ahead, knowing that a solid 90-day LTV is going to be good. So AOV means on the first sale, unless they have like a sample and then a big sale, like a tile and then a whole bathroom remodel, that's different. But usually what you're going to look at is the first AOV is going to be smaller, but the second, third, and fourth purchase in a 90-day window together will be much larger. So I actually like to base a what I call a CAC and LTV. So cost of acquired to customer and lifetime value. Now the CAC versus LTV, the LTV is not lifetime, it's 90 days. So I know that in a 90-day period, I'll average make $127. Then my CPA is going to be 30. So I can have a good 400 ROAS, even though my CPA of 30 might have a first sale of 50. So it looks like I'm getting like a 1.2 ROAS, but I know in 90 days it's a 400. I will scale that because if I'm trying to scale a 400% ROAS on a small first sale AOV, I'm never going to scale out of it. So my suggestion is look at the CAC versus LTV model, LTV going out to day 90, find your average 90-day sales per customer, divide that by 1/4, and then that is your CPA, regardless of what your first AOV sale is. Hopefully that helps. Do you pin assets on RSAs? No. So I actually, it's been a huge issue, but I've been trying to get all of our clients to not pin anything. I noticed that when you don't unpin, well, actually, the only time I will pin is if I'm running a competitive campaign. I'll pin the brand name as headline one because I don't want misclicks. But I will unpin as often as possible unless it's like legally needed, because I found that just pinning one item in RSAs brings my excellent down to good. And if I unpin that, it goes from good right up to excellent. I'd rather have 50% less CPC if I can't pin something. That's just me. Double the traffic for not having control. Yeah, that's good with me. Do you prefer TCP over TROAS? Always. I love TCP. I hate TROAS. TROAS is dependent upon your AOVs. TCPA, if I know my numbers really well, I don't really care what that first sale looked like. It was a big sale, it was a little sale, big sale, little sale. Well, TROAS is like, it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad. But I know if that all of my sales of these products are X within 90 days, that when it was Y, that's a good model to use. CAC versus LTV, really good. Started Google Shopping Ads campaign 3 days ago. Got a sale on the third day, and then nothing for 2 days. Yeah, Alfie, if you're using shopping, it depends on if you're using standard shopping or smart shopping. If you're using smart shopping, it's going to be wonky for legitimately 30 to 45 days. So just hang tight. Spend the amount of money that you can afford to spend. For standard shopping, make sure you have dynamic remarketing built in as well. So you're running a supplementary campaign to make sure that you're looking at search terms and adding your negative keywords. Also look at your feed to make sure that's optimized. Like, is the title and search terms relevant? So too much for me to cover, but definitely give it time. This is a month and quarter and year game. It's not a day to week game. Average time lag I see is 12 days, which means the day one when you spend $1, 12 days later, all of your revenue has now come in. So yeah, you need to give it time. Don't spend too much money where it's like, oh God, I can't afford a month. Spend what you can afford. Make sure you think long term though. Is NordPremium free for now? Looks like invite only. It's not free. They're not actually public. I'm just pushing it because I love it. So they're actually building out a lot of new features and that kind of stuff. So bear with them, please. But they're trying to do, like, not sure if they're doing free trials or custom setup. They're actually building out all their integrations. So Shopify is pretty easy for them. If you have a custom site, that still requires a little bit more integration. So, but just get in contact with them. Say, hey, heard about you through Solutions 8. Love to sign up. What's the next steps? And then, I think it's not a cheap tool. It's made for big advertisers. Like if you're running $100,000 a month on Snapchat, $100,000 a month on Facebook, $100,000 a month on Google, like it will tell you exactly how that works. Like that, it's made for big businesses. But smaller businesses that are really scrappy can utilize that and say, aha, there's how things work. So I think it's like $300 or $400 a month to start. So it is kind of expensive. But if I can spend $400 to save on a $3,000 ad spend, it makes sense to me. So that's the reason there. Hey, John, my fave. If you have 2 different PMAX campaigns with 2 different feeds, am I best off creating an entirely different MCC for the second feed to run the second PMAX? Only one PMAX is doing great. So it depends in why you have 2 different feeds. I'm a big proponent of not using 2 different feeds unless you needed to. I usually will just use one feed attached to another country, unless you're saying like, hey, I'm using a currency code. My website doesn't dynamically change the currency. Then it's different. But one campaign, 2 different feeds inside of one GMC account, completely fine. Or if you needed to have a different, if you wanted to start a different GMC, I'd just run a different account. It's hard because it depends on situational. 2 different feeds as is 2 different e-coms. Yeah, then keep everything separated. 2 different GMC accounts, 2 different Google Ads accounts, 2 different everything. Just keep them completely separate. Trust me, it's things that you find 6 months later, like, oh crap, like I wish I had that. It's just much easier to keep everything separate. That's my opinion. That's what I default to if I don't know. And I have limited time on these because I only have 17 minutes left. And so I can't deep dive into it. But just know that my default is, if you're not sure, always separate. That's what I usually do. Hey, John, why do we see mismatch in conversion data in Google Ads and Google Analytics? Check all the conversion actions in Google Ads. The problem we see, please guide me. So the difference between Google Ads and Google Analytics. Google Analytics is the same day last click attributed network. Google Ads is a whatever you set it up as conversion action. So inside of Google Ads, if you're using the Google tag, well, let me just start back. If you're importing your Google Analytics into Google Ads, it's depending upon your attribution model, your look back window, and what campaign type you're running. So you actually get to structure what Google Ads tells you is happening. Are you first click, last click, data driven, linear, position based? Are you, if you're importing those, the importation will be aligned, but they're going to be different depending upon how the person navigated through your campaigns in order to convert. So, but if you're using 2 different conversion actions, or conversion sources, one being analytics, one being the conversion tag from Google, either by GTM or just using Google Ads specifically, those are going to be Google Analytics to say what happened today, and that's what gets credit. That's why you have direct conversions. It just says what happens today. Google Ads says, did they get a click in 30, 60, 90 days, and did they ever convert regardless of how they came back? Those 2 will track differently. So completely different attribution models. They will never match up. Please tell me what kind of business you work for. I mean, currently, not theory. What kind of businesses? Oh, do you work for? Yeah. So we have 195 accounts. So everything. The people that made the LCD screens for tanks to a chiropractor. Everybody. It's insane. Also, do you use TCP on the new Performance Max? I actually have been running it wide open because Performance Max, for me, my opinion here, again, your mileage may vary. However, it's still a big learning experience. It's a new campaign type. I'm running it wide open. It hasn't even been around long enough for me to actually say that even if you start on day 1, you're ready for TCPA. I've been utilizing optimizing the asset groups, the audience insights, the ad copy, the landing page structures with the URL expansion on and off. But I've been leaving it on maximize conversions, not maximize conversion value, maximize conversions. And then I've been throttling and increasing and decreasing the daily budget and making optimizations to ad copy, all of my assets, so my headlines, my 5 long headlines, my descriptions, my images, my videos. Use everything. Don't start a performance max campaign if you're like, well, I don't have a video just yet, but someday. No, wait till you have all of your assets, then launch. Otherwise, you're just doing yourself a disservice. So I don't use it yet. I'm probably not going to use it until about March, April, because no campaign has had long enough timeline to say, do I know how to get a TCPA on search? No, it hasn't been full 60, 90 days yet, depending upon when you launched. My feed is very optimized. Search terms are very relevant. I got 5 added cards and 1 purchase, but again, it's only 5 days old. Keep going. Yes, just hang tight. I also negative keywords daily. Perfect. Alfie, you're on track. Nailed it. Keep going. Hang tight. Make sure you don't spend too much money, but make sure that you're giving it enough time. I have 2 different feeds. On day 4 with the product. So you're saying give it 2 weeks. Oh, no, I'm saying give it a year. Honestly, every single day, I have campaigns that go from 300 to 700 to 1400 to 2200 ROAS, just year over year. So yeah, long term. If you can't afford this long term, I would actually judge how everything happened until 3 months, not 2 weeks. 3 months is when you say, okay, what happened? Where's the trends? That's my opinion. And 2 different fees is a 2 different e-coms. Yep, we already talked about that one. When you utilize broad match campaigns, you attach a TCPA in the beginning at a very high number and then lower it over time. And when do you start lowering the TCPA when it reaches? Okay, so normally what I'll do is I'll start with only like 5 to 6 keywords, and I'll start with a daily budget that runs wide open. Remember, TCPA and TROAS is when you say, I like the performance of maximized conversions. Lock this and see if I can refine it. It's not starting a new campaign and saying, okay, give me that and then run. I wouldn't be helping you guys here. I would just build out an e-commerce campaign, give me 1,000 ROAS and $1 million a day budget, and one day that's going to work. You need to actually start to build in information. Then once it knows the information, then ask it to give it something. So don't start with TCPA or TROAS. Start with maximize conversion value. We're talking about automated bidding, and throttle the performance by how much daily ad spend. If you go from $50 a day to $200 and performance dips, we'll back that down to 75. Don't scale too much. If it's not getting good enough performance, back down the spend. So you want to back down the spend and increase the spend based on performance. And then you're like, yeah, this looks really good. Lock it in with a TROAS or TCPA. Know this though, TROAS and TCPA will atrophy sometime. It could be 2 years down the road, but if you lock in a TCPA on a long enough timeline, it's going to do this. It's going to just start to decrease in efficiency because it's a finite audience that it knows. And once it burns through that, you have to restart the process over, turn back on maximize conversions, learn new. So just know that TCPA and TROAS is finite, unless there's just an immense amount of people that you're just nailing and there's low competition and everything's just, you have a gold bar, this 6 cents, then you're golden forever. But typically TCPA and TROAS is going to refine a specific audience that says, I know I can get a cost per acquisition of $12 on these people. And then what happens when they're gone? It just fails. So just know that that's how that works. You're a legend. Thank you so much. Vincent, great info. You're welcome. Christian, do you always use long tail broad match keywords? Yeah, not always. Do you use several in an ad group? So yeah, here's the thing with broad match, try to keep everything as refined into one as possible. It's not, you can't necessarily use different ad groups, different campaigns because they eat each other. Broad match is just like, are you alive on Thursday? Well, of course you are. Now you have hair care and shoes and pens. I'm being facetious, but it basically will go so broad that it will eat up ad groups and campaigns. So I usually like to keep it in one campaign, one ad group. Sounds stupid, but it works. And I will use long tail broad sometimes. Like we have very specific companies that have really good products that are going to sell. I'm like, yeah, I'll test a little bit less. But if you're talking about, like pens, and you have like a really nice fountain pen, be like, best fountain pen, like make a little bit longer tail. It just depends on how specific or how general your campaign or your product is and how in or out of demand it is, honestly. And how much traffic you can afford. Like I can't spend $10 on pens. I'll waste that in like 27 clicks and then my search terms will be irrelevant. So I need long tail if I have lower budgets. If I have really high budgets and low goals, keep that thing cranked wide open. And do short tail broad and just see what is good and then refine from there. So it all depends on the volume. Hi John, any idea how to run discovery campaigns for e-commerce? Any pro tips? Yeah, so discovery campaigns, I would say start with a slow burn. So discovery campaigns are very top of funnel. So if you're running a discovery campaign, my suggestion would be actually launch Performance Max, because you get discovery in there with a really good e-commerce control like TCPA, or sorry, maximize conversion value. But if you're running discovery campaigns for e-commerce, keep it on like a $10 per day spend. And I would actually use it for if you need conversions, look at a top of funnel conversion type. Lead magnet, I don't like coupons, but like if you had something, if you're already running a sale, like a coupon redemption program, like, hey, click here, enter your email, we'll send you 15% off. Think of like the Facebook-esque type of pixel content, like a quiz and that kind of stuff. I don't like discovery on its own for e-commerce. It's way too top of funnel, measuring with way too bottom of the funnel targets. Like, hey, discovery campaign, let's introduce our brand to these people, but why isn't it getting a 300 ROAS? That doesn't happen. So just know that the discovery campaign is a billboard. You're not going to get the ROAS you need out of it, but as long as it's relevant content to a relevant audience, it's good. So keep it on a slow burn. Just make sure you have some remarketing built in for the traffic that does end up clicking. It's standard shopping. Good. Yeah. Keep it on standard shopping. Once you start to identify that your standard shopping is working really, really well, into Performance Max. I can't say turn it into smart shopping. Smart shopping goes away in June. So smart shopping is dead on June. So I can't tell you to, hey, build that up and switch to smart shopping. You have to build it up and switch to Performance Max. Pro tip for everyone here. Pay attention. You ready? Hello. Watch this closely. You can take your smart shopping campaign, turn it into a Performance Max campaign, and if you do not add any additional ad assets like video or imagery or headlines or long descriptions or long descriptions or long headlines, it is still a smart shopping campaign called Performance Max. It's the same thing. So don't be scared about Performance Smart Shopping going away. You can change it into or build a new one. Just don't put any ad creative in there, and ta-da, it's still good old standard smart shopping. So just know that it's not a deadline of, oh God, it's just going to change the name essentially. Cool. Thanks. Good. Do you think Google will sunset Manuscpc in the next few years? That's been a question we've always been asking for the last few years. So possibly, but just I don't know. I hope not, but I don't. It has to. I just don't know why or when. And everyone's been speculating that for years already. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm trying to increase my local search impression share right now. In my impression share, local and 30%. I'm not getting any clicks. So maximize clicks is actually a bidding strategy to favor bottom of the funnel cheap traffic. Maximize clicks means if I only spend this much money on a click, I can get a lot of clicks on a daily budget. Well, this much money on a click means you're bottom of the page. So if you want impression share, switch to manual, and then adjust your CPC bids, and then you'll see your impression share increase. Now, impression share is overall market penetration. That's actually more defined by your daily budget. Top and absolute top impression share, which means how often was I at the top in number one when I was showing up. That is more controlled by the bids. So if you're looking for impression share, budget. If you're looking for placement, bids. Look at, and then I'm so sorry, Amir, I don't know, is it AMR? AMR, look at your search impression share lost by budget, search impression share lost by rank, top search impression share lost by budget, top search impression share lost by rank, absolute top search impression share lost by budget, absolute top search impression share lost by rank. That will tell you why you're losing, and rank means bid, budget obviously means budget. Hopefully that'll help you. Those are the columns you need to know. Can you elaborate on maximize conversion plus throttle spend? Yes. So right now, in maximize conversions, when you're running that, it's going to run as hard and fast as it possibly can, as efficiently as it possibly can. If I'm trying to gain good performance and good stability, I'm not going to spend $1,000 a day unless I can afford that for 90 days. But I can spend $50 a day if I can afford that for 90 days. And then once I start seeing that my return on ad spend is really healthy and my conversions are really healthy, I'm going to go from 50 up to 65, and then I'm going to wait for it to kind of normalize. And then I'm going to go from 65 up to 80. And, you'll see a dip, and then you wait for it to normalize. Don't just set at 300% ROAS, or sorry, a 300% TCPA, or 300% TROAS, or a TCPA. Put $300 a day on it, and then just run it. It will just sputter because it doesn't know where to go. So I use maximize conversion value, and I only spend what I know I can afford to lose. And over a long enough time period, it might be a week or a month, you'll see that it gains good consistency. It's running as wide open and finding new audiences, new targets, unrestricted. It's going everywhere. It's finding everyone. Perfect. Advance that. Do you hire people from Asia, and what kind of people do you hire? What are you looking for? Yes. So we hire people from all around the world. Our CTO is in Kiev, Ukraine right now. We hire everyone. We are looking for the best of the best. A Thump, just as an example, out of 280 applicants, we hire one. So Just know that if we don't hire you, it's not because we don't love you. It's just that we are looking for absolute assassins. Hopefully that's taken best. Dave, John, when it says that asset quality is low, do you change it out right away or do you let it run for longer? No, if you're talking about performance max and your asset quality is having low performance, it's actually not getting any traffic anyway. It's been tested and said didn't work, and it's been pushed off to the side. So swap that out as soon as you can. Is it a good idea to run performance max campaign alongside smart shopping? You can, but just know that within 3 days, your performance max campaign, your smart shopping is going to do this. It'll just simply take over. Same way if you run a smart shopping campaign and standard shopping, it's the same exact thing. In your opinion, Chief, what is the average number of asset groups you should have? What PMax? It's completely up to you. If you're running 10 unique products, have 10 unique asset groups, and then duplicate those asset groups with different audience signals, and then duplicate those 10 again with different ad copy. So yeah, you could have 10 products having 30 different asset groups. Here's the thing: is smart shopping was take a PLA ad everywhere. Performance Max is taking a PLA ad for remarketing and smart shopping, but your actual traffic that's incoming is coming from that ad group. So if you're like, hey, why am I not getting any sales on this ecom? Well, is your asset group having 5 videos about that product, 15 images about that product, 5 headlines, 5 headlines, and 5 descriptions about that product, and to a relevant audience for that product? No, do that, and then you'll get that. So just know that that's your lead in. So if you're using one asset group and leading all the traffic into your site and wondering only why the asset groups that have the ad copy is only really selling the products that matches up with, the way to get the other products to sell, develop more asset groups, and then A/B test those things. I have like 3 minutes left, so I'm so sorry. With the actual shopping ad image, do you use any specific image size or edit the image in any way to make it stand out? Not really. It's for interpretation. Sometimes white backgrounds perform better. Sometimes like dresses, an influencer style image works better. Like a person sitting there like doing a pose. I can't pose, but I'm not a model. I'm more of a radio star, by the way. That's the face for that I have for it. But just know that the image is going to be something that just think in your mind in that industry. What is a common appealing image in that industry? A shower head could be white background, a dress, an influencer style image. So hopefully that helps. So just think about a person looking at that and say, well, that's a nice image. Don't make that oddly different than what the industry uses as a standard. Does Google Smart Shopping work? Yes, absolutely. It just depends on if you're running high amounts of traffic from other sources or not. In your experience, is there an e-commerce platform that performs better with shopping than other platforms? Always Shopify, period. Lance says, thanks a lot, John. You're welcome. I have time for 2 more. I'm so sorry. Do you start with manual CPC or max click when starting a new standard shopping campaign? Yes, I always start with manual and then start with like a 25-cent bid, then work my way up. Also, after how many conversions do you switch to? Usually when you get a good consistent 10 per week is when I will either switch over to an automated bidding strategy or now over to Performance Max. I'm actually starting with Performance Max. Generally, I'm not going to start with standard shopping. I think that everyone else that's running Performance Max is already starting to scoop up the traffic even before they go to the search engine and actually type it in. So think about Performance Max is not better to sell a person, but it's better to become the person that they would most likely buy from when they're ready to buy. And then next thing, thanks for great info. What's your opinion on starting a lead generation search campaign with max clicks instead of manual CPC? No, lead generation always manual CPC, period. The reason being is that your positioning is directly affecting the lead quality. No one Googles something and says, oh, I'm ready to contact someone right now. And they click search and then they scroll all the way at the bottom of the page and like, aha, that's where they are. You need to be in those first 3. So manual CPC is the only way to control to get there. Trust me, I spend $25 more per click in Solutions A to be number 1. And my lead flow is a lot higher quality than when I was number 3 or at the bottom. So just know that it's not necessarily a numbers game. It's a mental game. No one simply just searches and then goes all the way to the bottom page. If they do click on your ad and you're at the bottom, it means that they couldn't work with the first 4. They couldn't work with anybody organically. And now they're trying to work with you, which usually means can't work with you either. Thanks so much, everyone. I will see you very soon.